This is A Line Around Your Thoughts, a podcast that centers on conversations with artists, writers, musicians, and creatives from around the Inland Northwest. I'm EJ Iannelli, and I'm joined in the Rogue Heart Media studio today by Ginger Ewing, who is the co-founder and executive director of Terrain, and Jackie Caro, who is Terrain's operations manager still,
Director.
right? Yeah. Or operations director, sorry.
That just makes no difference.
So welcome, Jackie, and welcome, Ginger.
Thank you so much for having us on the show, EJ.
Yeah, I am very glad you're here. We're ahead of the Sweet 16, and so we've got a lot to talk about today. One of the things that, and I'll start off here, I was really curious by the foray into puppets, which I believe is going to be new. And we're not just talking necessarily diminutive puppets. Yes. We're talking, grand scale puppets.
Absolutely.
So let's begin there and Wolfbait. Or Wolfbat,
yeah. So that's something that local artist and phenom Ronaldo Gil-Zambrano has been working on for a few years, and actually tried to make happen at last year's Terrain, and things just didn't line up quite as well as they did this year. But this year, he reached out to local universities and asked in their visiting artist lecture series to help kind of support Wolfbat to come to Spokane, and then timing those workshops around the flagship event. So we're really incredibly excited about that. Obviously, Ronaldo is amazing, and he's done so much to put printmaking on the map here in Spokane. And Wolfbat, his work is just breathtakingly gorgeous, and the fact that it's this immersive experience that students get to participate in the week leading up to the flagship event, and then it culminates with this puppet procession from Gonzaga University down to the flagship event. They make their entrance at 8:30 p.m. and we are just beyond thrilled to be able to help showcase that partnership as part of our Sweet 16.
And was Wolfbat, was he one of Gonzaga's visiting artists, and that's why the procession starts there?
I think that is just where the last workshop ends.
I see.
And Ronaldo was professor at Gonzaga.
Right.
And so I think that's why it's, from Gonzaga to the flagship event. And maybe just thinking about the universities that are involved, Gonzaga is actually the closest to the flagship event too.
Otherwise it's a bit of a hike.
Otherwise like a 10-mile procession.
Yeah. Which I don't think anybody would be, well, except the people participating in it. Exactly. Nobody would be averse to these huge puppets coming through and right down their street.
But the puppets are just breathtakingly gorgeous. And it's interesting, people often ask us, are there any themes that take place each year? And each year, there typically is a theme. But we also have another oversized puppet that's going to be a part of the event as well. So that'll be a little fun thing for people to look forward to as well.
So is that the theme for this event? What is the theme for this event?
I think it's one of the things that struck me this year, and Jackie, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I was actually in and out of the jurying process for the first time ever, but there was a lot of environmental themes, a lot of kind of people chewing through kind of social commentary, just the state of the world right now. And so that's something that seems like it bubbled up quite a bit in the jurying process. Another, I don't know the subculture. A lot of crows, ravens, and crows came up a lot. And I think there's symbolism in the crows. And then a lot of, and I don't want to butcher this subculture, but the fairy anime style kind of artwork and subculture was a big theme that came up in the applications this year.
Okay, so a little bit of fantasy, a little bit of dystopia, and then crows and ravens.
Yes.
And so that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to have a scavenger hunt. We have to find one.
But that does seem fitting when, crows and ravens are fairly ominous, and it does feel a bit like the world's on fire right now, both figuratively and literally. So,
and they're also incredibly intelligent, beings as well. And so oftentimes they represent their ominous death. But also knowing, and I think oftentimes when I see ravens and crow, I see it as a sign, and maybe a sign of hope as well, because they're so intelligent and have such a guiding way about them. So definitely I think there are people who are chewing through this moment in time that we're all experiencing together, and you're seeing that show up in the artwork for sure.
You'll see it in the titles too. If you don't see it in the artwork.
Give me a for instance of some of the titles.
Oh my gosh, that is the hardest
That puts
question
you on the spot, and you're like, oh man, now we got to remember them verbatim.
I can't even. At this moment in my life and time, I cannot do that.
And you have kind of an abundance there because you have, I think, 483 artists.
Yes.
Is that
850 pieces of art.
Yeah. So it's a huge breadth of artwork and a huge breadth of representation of those artists.
Yes.
How does this compare to years past? And an increase, or are you kind of holding steady at the number of artists?
100 more pieces than last year. I know that for sure, or just slightly. It might be just slightly under 100. And the number of artists was
we were 427 last year, and we're 483 this year. And then in terms of submissions, we were close to 600 artists who actually applied for the event. And so yes, absolutely growing. I feel like every time we're sitting with you, EJ, we're like, there's going to be a plateau. And one of the things that I am a little trepidatious about, because I do think that there's going to be a point at which, we plateau, whether it's us saying, okay, this is the cap of like what this event can handle, or there's a plateau in terms of artists applying, and we don't want that to be synonymous with whether or not it was a successful year or people should come down. But on the flip side of that, when you have almost 600 local artists apply to be a part of a show, and you have 483 of them showcase, that's something to be really proud about. That's something to celebrate. And so yes, it's bigger and than ever before, both in terms of applicants and in terms of pieces. And it's a beautiful show. It's a really good mix of a variety of different kind of art. And so I'm really excited for the community to come down and see it.
And I think you have to keep in mind too, like when the jury is jurying it, they give their dimensions, but there's no way to put into your mind like, okay, how many could I fit in this building of this many square feet? And if we had every piece is, some of them you're like, the jury has a fun time coming to the event and be like, oh my God, I had no idea that was that big, or I had no idea it was so small. Like they just have no concept of size because you're just looking on a screen. So it's like we can fit a lot if it was all really tiny, or if it's all really large. But this year was I think after like getting everything in, it felt like a good mix of both.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that answer kind of preempts a question that I had that arose from something that you said, which is you say it's a beautiful show. Mm-hmm. And so you have a visual, a mental image of what this is going to look like and where things are going to be placed. Mm-hmm. How much in detail do you map that out beforehand, or is it
none?
Okay. So you just know what the pieces are, kind of have a vague idea of where they're going to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Carl Richardson, our curator, kind of helps the volunteers.
Who's coming hot off the heels of the Ink Print Rally?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
And painting our gallery show.
Our gallery show on Sunday.
Yeah.
He kind of helps guide, like this year, because there was so much art. After the first drop off, we started kind of distributing art to get it out of the main space so we could accept more. And then you kind of work around like, okay, we've got these bigger pieces. We don't want to have the same artists next to each other. We really try to like move things around. So once you kind of have them laid out a little bit, then you can kind of tweak them. But it's not like we know, after you've gone through 850 pieces on a computer, it's insane to like, you'll remember a couple of them, but you won't have a clue. And then again, that dimension thing, it's like not really understanding how big they are or small they are. But then he kind of sets them out and then it just start hanging.
Yeah. And he's brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
We're so lucky to be able to have someone of his caliber who is a part of the team. And so, yeah, we would be totally lost without Carl.
And we'd be lost without the huge number of volunteers who help hang.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this year it was Carl's goal, and we were successful to hang 100 pieces a day.
Some days 140.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's monumental when you put it into perspective.
And there are also groups that are doing installations. So do those installations, are they dedicated installations, or are they meant to provide a certain atmosphere for the art, or a little bit of both?
It's both. Yeah. So as part of the jurying process, we do have a proposal where people can pitch site-specific installations. And so site-specific in the sense that once they're given a place in the space, then they will adapt and evolve their concept based on the room that they're given, or the space that they're given, or the wall that they're given. And then we also have these elements of the show that are always present. So we always have our, indoor stage. We always have Literature Park, where our literary readings take place. And so in those instances, we kind of have that mapped out prior. We know where Terrain Theater will be, and we'll reach out to an artist and commission them to create an experience for our guests to enjoy. And so for Literature Park, for the indoor stage, and for Terrain Theater, and then also this year we really wanted, as soon as you walk into the door, for you to be immersed in the Sweet 16 theme that local artist and graphic designer Derek Landers created. So we have 2 or 3 kind of collaborations with Jackie's mom. Jackie Caro has done a lot of. We have a new events manager who's been crushing it, Rachel Chambers. Her sister has been doing things, and then in combination with volunteers, we're hoping to have this immersive experience as soon as you walk in the door. And so those are kind of the ones that we were very specific about in terms of us coming up with the ideas, or at least commissioning the artists to come up with the ideas. And then we're beholden again to whatever people submit in terms of site-specific installations.
And site-specific, it's funny because this building has changed so many times since we moved into it the first year. It's like we had all these rooms and we had all these spaces to put different installations, and then the next year there was like half as many, and then now it's like there's like 4, really, realistically, probably 4 legit rooms. So it's harder to kind of place those as it used to be. It used to be like, we've got all this space, we can just throw them anywhere we want. And now we're like, I don't know where we're going to put them.
Yeah,
we figured it out.
A big consideration that we're always thinking about is a noise bleed, sound bleed. And, in an event like Terrain, there's always going to be sound bleed, whether it's from the sheer number of people who are going through, or just everything that's taking place. But we try to be really thoughtful. If we're like, okay, if the outdoor stage is here, then Literature Park needs to be there. If Literature Park is there, then X or Y needs to be there. This year we have like a scream chamber, so we put a scream chamber that So yeah, I think there's all these layers and levels of consideration when laying out the show, and to your point, both in terms of visual art, but then again in terms of flow, to what Jackie's talking about, and then just like as this, as guests, as patrons, as attendees are going through and experiencing this space, what does that look and feel like, and how can we make that the most enjoyable that we possibly can make it?
And I don't want to gloss over Scream Chamber. How does this fit into the artistic experience?
Well, I think it goes back to your original question about the theme. And I think that there are a lot of people who are chewing through, let's just say we're living in a really tense time right now. And to be able to have that sort of just cathartic release, I think that a lot of people might not even know that they need that, but once they have that experience, they feel a little bit better, at least in that moment. And so I think that's just another iteration of like chewing through the state of the world right now. But in terms of Scream Chamber and the experience, we think, we hope it's going to be soundproof.
It's not done yet, but we really hope.
Yeah, and Lupe, the artist who is doing the Scream Chamber, he's amazing, and he is an architect, and he'll figure it out. He had a really beautiful site-specific experience last year that was a dedication to his father who passed away. So we have nothing but faith that he'll figure it out, but we'll see, to be continued.
And there's always, I think, the tendency, and maybe quite rightly, to focus on the visual art, because visual art is such a big component of this event. But as you've already mentioned, there are the performing arts that are included, the literary arts. And I just really would like to talk about like the band lineup that you've got. I saw that True Hoods is on there. So you've got a really extensive band lineup as well. So if you who wants to feel the music
I need to
connection?
Google what we're doing.
Yeah. So I think one of the things, we do this with all of the different juries, but again, we're beholden to who applies, but we try to have a diverse representation of the music scene as we possibly can. And so the directives that we give the music jury is think about genre, do hip hop versus rock versus singer songwriter. Make sure we have a good mix of all of those. Think about people who've never participated in the event. So if you played last year, it's not to say that you won't be juried in this year, but if you played last year and it's between kind of you and somebody else who hasn't had an opportunity, maybe we give that person who hasn't had the opportunity to be juried in the show. We even think about it in terms of the jury that we select. So making sure that we have someone who's representative of an indie band and a hip hop artist. So we are getting the most diverse kind of varied musical lineup that we possibly can get. I am not super well versed in terms of all of the bands. You're probably I
have some notes.
Yeah. So do you want to tell us, BJ, about the musical lineup and how they? Yeah.
So Imagine Jazz Big Band. I mean, Rachel Bade McMurphy was in here talking about Glass Bead Orchestra, and then her side project Imagine Jazz. That was just a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
But yeah, the Bedheads, Frog Psychology is one that I hadn't heard before.
That's
and I'm
Chris
not familiar
Molson's
with.
Band, whose mom has literally been a star volunteer. She's the best, Christy Molson.
All these parents coming out and representing.
Well, she's always the star mom.
Yeah, and Chris and his brother Mike have been in many bands throughout the years, and so I was really excited to see them return this year. As Jackie said, Christy has been involved. I was actually just looking at old photos earlier this morning and Train 2. Christy's like, more of that. It was another great year. So she's been with us from the beginning. And again, her sons, Chris and Mike, have been in many different bands throughout the years. And so I always feel super nostalgic when you have people who are like OG participants and they're coming back for something like the Sweet 16. So yes, we have the Malsum.
She's literally just there.
The Malsum boys who will be involved. And I was also excited to see Imagine Jazz too, because we
partnered with them a long time ago.
We partnered with them a long time ago, but I can't remember a jazz band that has been on the stage. I don't want to misspeak. But in the 16 years we've done Terrain, I don't think we've had a jazz band. And so again, really, going after that eclectic, varied, diverse mix.
Yeah. And we see that diversity there. And then even in demographics, you've got a youth poetry group that's coming in, and is it Mary Smith, who's the poet laureate, has helped organize that. So do you want to speak to that? And that's going to be taking place at the the literature park.
Yes, so that'll just be on preview night. I think they're going from like 5 to 6, or no, preview night starts at 6 to 8:30.
And that's just on the preview night.
Yes.
Okay, so
because normally we don't have anything. We thought, well, like, this would be a great opportunity to give opportunity to folks who don't normally, or like they're youth who aren't applying or don't know that this exists. So it's a good opportunity for them to have that stage and to take that space, because normally it's just empty until Friday night. And so it'll be a fun way for them to experience the event, and their family get to come and see them perform. And so it's super exciting. Mary reached out and I was like, let's do that. Sounds like a great idea. And hopefully get some of those students, it's a lot of students from SPS and who will hopefully be coming.
Community school.
Community school and all of that. So it's exciting.
And that's a really good example of where, someone has reached out to us specifically to collaborate. So it wasn't, I wish we could claim that we were like, Mary, you're doing great work with that community school. Why don't we? But she reached out to us, and I'm so glad she did, because it's, again, really meaningful to be able to provide a space for those youth poet voices to be heard. So
who will hopefully then get involved and then know that there's a community of other poets, and will come Friday night when it's free and like enjoy seeing other people in that community and understand that that's something that they could be doing, and not like, oh, nobody does poetry. It's like there's this whole community who's doing that. So it's exciting to see that happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm intrigued by the fact that it's happening on the preview night, which is, when this episode airs. So tonight, doing a little bit of time shifting there. But it almost creates an added incentive or a certain uniqueness to the preview night, because obviously one is free, one is paid, kind of little special VIP access, but it's an additional incentive to maybe get your ticket for preview night.
Absolutely, yeah. And really, preview night came about because people wanted, just like everything we do with Terrain, it's in response to what the community says it needs. And one of the things we heard for many years was like, I want a little bit more intimate experience with Terrain. And I'm willing to pay for it. And we're just like, what? You're willing to pay for it? And we're like, we might as, And so preview night is really meant to be kind of a more intimate experience. It's also an opportunity to be able to purchase artwork first. And also, because we have grown so much in terms of the number of artists that are participating in the show, we've tried to figure out ways to let people know, be able to kind of self-identify as like, I'm an artist in the show. So this year we created little enamel pins that we've asked each of the artists to wear, so people at least can identify, okay, this is a particular artist in the show. They can make connections with each other, and then if there is someone in the audience who is looking for you or just wants to strike up a conversation, be like, hey, you're an artist in the show, show me your artwork. Hopefully a little bit more of that will be happening. And then also preview night is just a really good way to support our organization. Am I allowed to swear? I probably shouldn't swear. This is probably family friendly. But one of the things that I think because the event is free, and we stand by that, and we will never let that aspect of Terrain go. We don't want your financial situation to be a barrier of you experiencing and getting to engage with art. As the show has grown, it's very expensive to put on. I think people would be surprised by how expensive it is to put on the show, and so that preview night, those tickets also help kind of offset those costs as well.
And I feel like I'm hopping around a little bit, but I want to come back to this point of growth, because you had raised it earlier, and there is, I think, we see it in the economic sphere, and I guess we see it in the artistic sphere. You're always supposed to come back bigger and better. But you have always placed an emphasis on quality, and that's not to say that you haven't augmented the show, because I remember when some of these features were new, and Terrain's flagship event has been augmented over the years and evolved over the years. But as far as that aspect of growth, is there a point when you feel like the emphasis on growth means that you can't focus on quality? Like you would never sacrifice quality for growth.
Yeah, we would never sacrifice quality for growth. And I also think someone asked me the question just this morning, is like, have you grown to a point where this could be a 3-day festival or a week-long festival? And obviously that that comes with added costs, and also just stress on staff. Like, this is a lot to put on. But I also think there's this just magicness. I don't think that there's a word, but I'm going to use it anyway.
You've
this
coined a new word.
Yeah, it is.
About being together collectively in a room for a singular moment in time. And to kind of look around and to say, wow, this is my community. This is these are my people. This is my town. That sort of like pride of place. But also, again, kind of going back to kind of this moment in time, the state of the world, just that moment, that magic, that specialness of like, we are doing this together collectively, and it's all going to go away in an hour. It's all going to go away this evening. And so we better soak it all up right now, because we're never, ever going to be able to have this experience again. And I think that is part of the magic of this event. And so I never say never, but I don't think it's ever going to become a week long or even a 3-day long.
I can see us doing like
preview night.
Saturday.
Preview night is even pushing us.
Yeah.
Actually, we did like back Terrain like 4 when we were just starting to kind of sell artwork, people were like, okay, I saw that piece and I regretted it. Can I come back? And one year we did a brunch where we did like mimosas and French toast. You could come back and buy artwork. But yeah, I just think there's something about, again, that collective exhale, that collective, we're in this together, in this moment together, in this experience together, that I never want to lose sight of. And so in that way, I don't think growth would ever happen. But who knows?
That is specifically what I had in mind going to a multi-day event when I was thinking, like, where is the next area that you could augment? And it is, adding preview night was already kind of a concession to the community and a justifiable one. But going into a multi-day event, it does lose some of that that leaning into the very zen ephemerality of the event. This is one night. For everyone to enjoy, and then it goes away for another year.
Yeah. So. I've flirted with the idea, and I can't believe I'm going to say this publicly because I don't know if I'll ever. We very specifically started Terrain as part of the Fall Visual Arts Tour. We wanted to be able to. I was going to tell a little history of how we got our name, but essentially we wanted to kind of pull voices that weren't necessarily being heard into the art scene at the time, and so we very specifically have the event during the Fall Visual Arts Tour. I think our creative community has grown so much since we started that I don't want the event to feel like it's competing with other things that are happening, and so. One of the thoughts I've had is, do we do it on the second Friday just for, or do it on a different day? So then everybody else who has we're even competing with ourselves because we have a show, we have this amazing show that's going to be in our gallery.
And that's Mel Hewitt's Communications that's opening same day. Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
Today.
Yes.
Today. Go.
And so staff can't be there for that. And we want to be there for Mel because Mel's doing really incredible work. And we're at every other first Friday in our gallery except for October. And so, I've thought about do we switch weekends? Do we switch, that? But in terms of the overall formula, I don't know. It's worked for us for 16 years, and I don't see it changing anytime soon.
And so what else is planned this year? There's Terrain Theater. You've got short film entries that are involved in that. Any particular standouts? I know you don't want to play favorites necessarily.
I don't want to play favorites.
But I'm
one
sure
that I really like. That's really cute.
Talk about the one you really like, even though it's not necessarily a favorite.
It's a stop motion one that's just very, very cute, and I really like that. I think it's great. I don't remember who the artist is. The problem. But I don't watch through all of the films myself, so I can't giving full feedback on that would be unfair. We have a jury for that.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you have separate juries for film, for visual art, for music?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we
are not experts.
because the visual. Oh, speak for yourself.
Okay.
Just kidding. Because the visual art jury is so ginormous that we help facilitate that process because it's just so huge. Massive. But we sit out of the music jury, we sit out of the literary jury, we sit out of the film jury. We have very capable people who lead those juries, and so it's a surprise even to us of what gets in.
Well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and so I mean, we have access to the back end, and same with the music jury. So we have access to the back end. We can see what's been submitted. We can see what's been accepted. But again, it's a surprise for us in terms of.
But it's even funny now we've gotten to the point for us to review. If Ginger and I were just I want to look at all the art and see what's come in. It's gotten to the point where we used to go through them and be oh my gosh, look at this, look at this. And we're messaging back and forth. Now it's I can't keep up. It's too much to go through all of these. So it's funny, even that is more of a surprise than it's been in the past.
Yeah, and we had mentioned that there's 850 pieces that are in the show, but it was something like 3,000 or 4,000.
No, it was 1,400.
There's more than that. I don't know. There was a lot. There's a lot of pieces.
And imagine our jury. I mean, they spent. I can't remember. I added it up. days and days. I mean, they pre-looked through everything on their own, then came in and we went through every single piece together as a group, and then they juried them all in that moment. And it's like, it was, I think 20 hours, 25 hours, like that's just like the in-person time, and then them on their own included in that. So it's a huge undertaking. I mean, those people give us a lot of their time.
Yeah, it is a massive undertaking. And then, you know, all of these things we've mentioned, and the other thing is dance that you incorporate into this. And so it's yet another performing art. I feel like the local dance scene is undergoing a kind of renaissance in a way. Can you talk about some of the dance performances that are going to be included?
A little bit. There is a couple of groups, and there's also a Filipino dance group, which I'm excited to see. And they're doing, each performer has like a 20-minute time frame, and they were juried in with like multiple performances. So they'll do and their performance may not last 20 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. I mean, there's a lot of dancers where a 20-minute dance is extremely long. But they're doing their little performance, and then it switches to the next group and the next group and the next group. Throughout the night, they're performing like 3 or 4 different times. So it's going to be, I wish we had more dance. Every year I'm like, gosh, if we could get more dancers. So if you're listening and you're a dancer next year, like, apply. It's an amazing experience. And I think it's a good way to like get yourself out there into the community. So yeah, I really enjoy. I think it's the most, like, it like brings the space alive in a way that is really special.
Yeah, and Carly Ann Forthen has been. I mean, there's multiple Vincus and there's multiple dance companies that are having a huge impact on contemporary dance in Spokane right now. And Carly Ann is someone that we've been. She participated in our Creative Enterprise program, and we've been kind of following her work. She's doing really incredible work. But it's even, she's given us feedback on, like, actually, if you want to have more dance, you need to have this kind of stage. And so, you know, we adapted and we're like, okay, this is good for us to know. And so as we grow alongside the dance community, we hope that we can continue to support that art form in the best way that we possibly can.
We should definitely give Carly a plug for her event Ghost Light on October 24th. It's
by all means,
incredible. It is an amazing immersive experience that is like, it was fun to go to an event where I felt like I don't have to do any work for this. And it was incredible. So October 24th, the tickets are on sale right now, but it's Ghost Light is the name of it.
I was super jealous. Last year I tried to get a ticket and I was denied. And I was so...
It sells out. It will sell out. I haven't gotten mine yet.
I think that highlights, and you know, one of the many advantages of this event is that, you know, obviously you can't showcase every single artist in Spokane, and because of the sheer number of, the finite wall space that you've got, but also the sheer number of participating artists, you can't necessarily showcase all their work. But it's such a great entry point into those individual artists' bodies of work, whether it's dance, whether it's theater, whether it's literature, and you can come here and get a taste and then say, I want to check out more of them later on.
And we've been trying to, last year, and I think is when we started it, doing a full mapping of everything in the show. Not necessarily a picture of it, but if you go up to it and you see somebody like Ronaldo's piece, and you're like, oh, I want to follow Ronaldo, I want to know more. There's a whole map that's like Ronaldo's piece is on the 3rd floor, but whatever, but it has his Instagram account or his website account. So you can actually go and be like, I actually want to engage with this artist, instead of being like, well, that was nice, and then you leave and you forget. There's a whole like list of where you can find more about these people.
I was going to say Ronaldo's an easy example, but I don't think he's hurting for followers.
I don't think he's. I know. I'm like, I'm going to say Ronaldo's name 10 more times. Let me think of somebody else.
Jenny Hyde.
Yeah.
Is that a name that you're kind of would like to highlight? You know, are there any artists in this show, and granted you haven't seen every single piece, but are there any artists in this show where you're thinking, man, I am really hoping that
if I say it, then you'll want to buy it, and then I'll have to race for it. Hannah Bettino,
Kristen Robbins. I've been really... Kristen Robbins is an incredible example. She has been a part of the show for many years, and or at least the last
3
4 or
years.
5
Since
years.
you've been in the building, this building.
And her work is just so whimsical and kind of folk art-esque, and it's just really, really delightful. And every year she would have a piece in, and it was never for sale. And last year we're like, Kristen, you really, like, you would be selling, I would be buying your pieces, but you would be selling your pieces. So last year she had her artwork in the show, and she sold for the first time, made it for sale, and sold every single piece. And then this year, this year she was one of only a handful of artists that got every single piece they submitted into the show. So she's an artist that I'm really excited about. Of course, I'm excited for everybody. But it's been really wonderful to see her self-confidence grow, and her begin to get the sort of recognition she deserves.
I also think there's just so many, like, we kind of touched on this as it's growing. There's a lot of people. I feel like I felt this more with, like, last year, maybe the first year back after the pandemic, just a lot of people moving to Spokane or had moved to Spokane in that time frame between when the pandemic started and when we was it in 2022? When we finally came back, and they'd never experienced terrain at all. They didn't really know what it was. They'd maybe heard, like, oh, there's this event that's not happening anymore, and they experienced it, and they were like, well, I'm an artist and I just moved here, and, like, I want to be a part of this. And then they're in this next year, it's like watching, like, this massive growth of artists that we have no connection with at all, that we don't know who they are, and this is their first time doing this, or they've moved here. So it's exciting to see that.
And it's probably incredibly fulfilling when you see artists selling work, because invariably when we get together, we end up talking about creative economy and how do you make a livelihood out of this? How do you make this into a career that is sustainable rather than just a glorified hobby? And so when those artists are shifting pieces for hopefully a value that is that is
that's
worth
the other
it.
Conversation is the price.
Exactly. But that's up to the artist to decide what what each piece is worth to them. But it must be incredibly fulfilling for you as organizers to see these pieces moving and artists putting money into their own pockets.
Super exciting. I mean, at the end, I'm back in the day, it would be like the next day or that night, you, like, look at what was the total, like, money that they all made, and it's exciting to see that grow. And I hope it continues to grow. I mean, that's the point. And it's not the point. The point, I mean, that's, I think, the kind of the interesting thing is, like, there's a lot of stuff that's just not for sale. Again, it's like the Kristen Robbins, where you're like, you can sell this, but they're not at that point yet. They're not at the point in the confidence and the growth of their artistic career to do that. And it takes a lot of confidence to feel like somebody would want your art. And I think the more they do it, the more confident they get, and they see other people doing it, or, like, make a print of it if you love this so much you don't want to get rid of it. We sell, I think last year we sold more dollar-wise in prints than we did in original art, because it's accessible.
I was going to say.
I mean, it can range from $1.20 to $20, $50 for prints, and that's accessible to hopefully anybody who's walking through the door, to get to take something home with them.
Yeah, and I will say too, it's pretty surreal as a kind of a super scrappy grassroots arts organization. Going back to the conversation around, well, we did a brunch one year when people said that we were just kind of dabbling in, trying to sell art. And our programs and events, we sold $1.3 million in artists' sales and arts payments last year alone. And about 83% of that, so I think it worked out to be like $989,000 we were able to put directly back into artists' pockets last year alone.
Yeah, that's huge.
And that's huge. That's huge. And we're really proud of that. And that's another metric where we're like, oh, do we say that out loud? Because, like, what? Maybe one year it's only $800,000, or maybe whatever.
I think there's also when you're talking about, if you were specific to terrain, we're not doing, like, calculations or percentages of, like, how many of the pieces in the show are not for sale. There could be a year where that percentage is super high, or it's lower, and so you're selling more of it, or you have a year where you're getting a lot of higher priced originals that aren't selling. I mean, it's just, like, hard to tell, like, that number. It's hard to have that as a gauge of success, I guess, would be the.
But I also think it shows how hungry our community is for not only to experience, but to to consume art in a very tangible way. Like, I'm supporting a real human being living and creating here in Spokane. And I think the growth of the creative community and the growth in Spokane in general, you're seeing more and more people understanding the importance of supporting local artists in that sort of way. And one of the things that I always give a shout out to the Bartlett. I remember when the Bartlett first started, and like a $10 cover to see this amazing band, be it a local band or a traveling band, people are like, I'm not paying $10, you know?
Good music.
And the Bartlett was like, no, you're paying $10, and this is why. Like, these folks need to get paid. And they were some of the first folks who were insisting on supporting our local musicians and traveling bands in that way. And I think they helped to kind of, and I think we have done that as well, and others have said, this is why you pay for this experience, or this is why this costs this much, or this is why it's important. If you are able, not everybody has that financial freedom, but if you are able, if you're choosing, to put something on your wall from a big box store, or you can support a local artist creating and living right here in Spokane, choose the local artist every single time.
You
and
get
so
the frame at the big
I
box
think
store.
that we've seen a tremendous amount of growth in our community through that lens as well.
And, you have also, beyond the flagship event, helped to cultivate that and that appreciation, because maybe putting the dollar figure strips the art of some of its romance, but it also signals, like you talked about, the hunger on the part of the public and the level of appreciation that they have, because that dollar figure signifies that people are willing to pay for this art. And of course, that opens up other cans of worms, like, is the local economy strong enough to give people enough disposable income to then buy art? But that's maybe a topic for another day. But when we look at the other things that you're doing, like Bazaar, which is coming up probably sooner than you'd like, but Bazaar and Bazaar, and then from here, all of that is designed not. I don't want to sound too mercenary, but it's with the creative economy in mind.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think we always kind of walk this fine line as someone who is acutely aware of the damage that late stage capitalism is doing to this country, but also being really rooted in reality that people need to put food on their table, and people need to. They need all of the things that you and I need. And so, again, if you are able, if you can make that choice, choose a local artist, anytime that you possibly can. And one of the reasons why I sound like a broken record of like, these are real human beings living and creating here in our community, and you can have an incredible impact on their livelihoods. And so, I think we've throughout the years learned to speak that language, both in terms of because we want to be able to be as supportive to local artists as we possibly can. It is also a way, super transparently, for us to be able to talk about our impact as an organization. And the business community, city and state, local and federal elected officials, they want that kind of hard data of like economic impact. And so it is an important piece of part of what we do. And we're super proud of how we've helped the creative economy grow in our city. I mean,
and
the creative
keeping
economy.
Those artists here.
Yeah.
That's a big piece of it. It's like if they leave, then goes just the culture they create, but then also the economic development that they create, because they aren't finding it here.
And I will say that I'm gonna get like super like arts administrator nerdy on you for a second, but the Department of Commerce, led by sector lead Shannon Halberstadt, and Creative West, just did I believe it was a 2.5 year long study on the creative economy in Washington State. And it's one of, I think it's the first or the second, I should know this. I think it is the fastest growing sector in Washington State, and it contributes 19.6% of the state's GDP. So again, like nerdy numbers and data that I've learned to be able to kind of communicate. but it is the fastest growing sector in Washington State. And I think we have a real opportunity as Spokane and the level and the talent in our city to be leaders in choosing to invest in our local artists, to invest in the arts, to invest in the creative economy. And I think we have all of the puzzle pieces, the recipe, the ingredients needed to put Spokane as like a trailblazer in the creative economy in our state and in our region. So yeah, it's important stuff. It's really important stuff. And I would love for like Jackie and I to have to mostly think about that so artists can just create and do their thing.
And that would be a good coda to the conversation that we've had, but I don't know if you're prepared for this, but we go from one interview to another interview, which is the lightning round. Are you?
Oh gosh.
Oh, okay.
You should have warned us.
Yeah.
That's the
If
whole
you
point.
ask me my own name, I might
No
get
one
it
gets
wrong.
warned about the lightning round.
Okay.
The lightning round is a surprise.
Oh God.
Yeah,
Okay.
deeply, deeply
Are
unpleasant.
you gonna go through our website and like ask us what we do on a daily basis?
Well, most
What are
folks,
your
they're like, oh
programs?
my God, you're going to test me on my knowledge. This is all questions that are totally unrelated to the previous interview, but they're a little more qualitative in nature.
Okay. Bring it on. And then are we both supposed to answer? I
You are
gotta know.
both
I gotta know the rules, CJ.
Okay, the
Okay.
rules
To
are
win whatever this is.
the rules are yes, you both the questions are addressed jointly. But what I try to do is make it fair so that if you go first one time, then Jackie goes first for the next
Okay.
one. So
Okay.
yeah.
Who's going first?
If you
this
start
time?
Yeah.
answering really fast,
Do you want to draw straws for the first one? The first one is an either or question.
Okay.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh God.
Would you rather meet aliens or see ghosts?
Ooh, aliens.
Aliens.
Ooh, I don't know. Fire in the Sky really messed me up.
All right. And then, of course, I can't just leave it there. You've got to explain your answer. So why aliens over ghosts?
Because aliens don't live in my house, potentially. Because I wouldn't be seeing them on a daily basis. Although we've been in this building and I'm seeing ghosts every day and I know they're around. I would rather, just not for very long, right? It's just like real quick.
Yeah, I guess, quick meet and greet,
Quick, and then they zoom away and that'd be fine.
Yeah. I mean, assuming that they're well-intentioned.
Well, but then I'd be like, okay, they do exist. I'd like really lean into that.
But they exist. They exist, but like in a then we're
They're
getting,
just not occupying my
getting,
space on a
Yeah,
daily
poltergeist
basis.
versus ghost versus
Oh,
like we're getting
yeah,
all of
oh my
it.
God.
Yeah,
I don't want to get super messy. But if it's just a ghost, like obviously something physical, energy, like spirit, whatever you want to call it, exists. But with an alien, they're actually like can punch you or abduct you.
What if a
or
ghost
do
can?
something
I
to
don't
you.
know. I'm never like.
I don't know. We're talking ghosts,
People
not
say
poltergeists.
weird. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Those are
So are you going with ghosts then?
That's a toss up for me too. But I think as we've kind of thought through it, I would go for ghosts. But I don't
thought
want
through this very serious question.
I don't want to see either of them. But I would say maybe ghosts.
Yeah, because I mean, then you could interact with
another
them
question.
in your building, maybe ask them to help out hanging some of the art. I don't know if the aliens would necessarily
We
be
have good
amenable to
stories.
that.
We have good ghost
there's
stories.
Definitely.
Do you have a ghost story that you want to?
Yeah, I will not say the name of the artist to kind of protect their
They're ghost
their ghosts. I don't know if they want me. It's their story to tell, so I don't know if
we
they
may
want
get
me.
the details.
But last year, so we've definitely had experiences in the building, and it's pretty.
Is it known to be haunted? Like,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
A guy
And-
came in the first year we were there, and our little volunteer area in the back, like in the front, actually. He like walks in, he's like, "This was my office," and our first question was like, "Is it haunted? Like, is the building haunted?" He's like, "100%, no question." He's like,
Yeah.
"I'd be here at night by myself and hear footsteps." And there's like written signatures in the basement from like 1928, 1915, It's like it has some things.
Yeah.
And then there's other things that I think are
Yeah.
ghostly.
Yeah, and then
This story really solidifies it.
Yeah, that solidifies it. We hadn't shared this information with this particular person, and they were in the building later at night. We had actually left. There was only one other artist in a different part of the building. They were doing installations.
I'm getting
Hopefully that
goosebumps
doesn't-
right now.
Hopefully
Oh,
that
yeah.
doesn't give too much information away. And they were up on kind of a ladder, kind of hanging something in the wall, and they peered over, and there was an older woman who was kind of crouched over, and she was looking at the artwork. And in order to kind of protect their sanity at the moment, they were like, "Oh, it's just a volunteer. It's just a volunteer. It's just a volunteer." But they knew what they were
11 o'clock
seeing.
at night.
And we were super surprised.
And now we won't go on the floor by ourselves.
we were feeling like a more masculine energy in this space.
Arnie was his name.
And so to hear that this particular person saw an older woman, but it's actually kind of a little, like, if we're going to have ghosts in the space, at least they appreciate the artwork.
Yeah. I mean, that's the consolation.
Yeah.
Who knows if aliens would be as
they may
sympathetic.
not be
And there's been nothing like malevolent. It's just, it's unsettling. Yeah. We're going to have to do some talking with them if we are in that building long term.
So now you get to go first. This is, I think, a little tougher, tougher question. A little bit of soul searching.
Okay.
Oh, no.
What is the last white lie you told?
Oh, the EJ I never lied. Maybe that's it right now. I think. Oh, that's a really good question. I am a pretty transparent person. I don't really tell a ton of white lies. I think it would probably, I can't think of something specific, but it would probably be around of like someone asking me my opinion on something and maybe not liking it. Could maybe even be artwork.
Because you probably get solicited for your opinion a lot.
Yeah. And I think that there are, first of all, one of the things that I've had to learn is that, like, this might not be my cup of tea, but it's somebody else's. And I think that's the value in our juries, right? It's like you have to have, in many ways, as cliche as it sounded, like, art is subjective, right? And so, and maybe someone, is not quite where they need to be in terms of skills wise, but you don't want to quench that creative energy, and you want to encourage it. And so I think it's finding constructive ways to say, these are the elements I like. These are, like, where you could potentially use some improvement. And, but I always, like, if you're making something, if you're creating something, that's all I want. I think that's a win. There's that old psychology study where you go into a kindergarten classroom, and the person who was doing the study is like, "Who here is an artist?" And everybody raises their hands. And by, like, 3rd or 4th grade, it's like half the people, and by high school, it's 1 or 2 people, right? And that's our society saying what art is and what isn't, and who can't do it and who can. And I think that terrain, I don't think I know, one of the reasons why that we exist is because we want to eliminate that narrative. And if you're out there, if you're creating, if you're putting yourself out there, that's a win, not only for yourself, but for our community. And so, is there art that I see that I don't love? Absolutely. But how can I foster that creative energy in a constructive way without being like, I don't like it? I think that there are ways to approach that. So that might be the last little white. I don't want to sound like, oh, I'm perfect. That's not what I'm trying to say. But I'm a pretty transparent person. Like you, I'm a pretty transparent person. You're not going to not. You're going to know you're going to know how I feel about things, about most things. So, yeah, including Jackie.
Ginger, Jackie, thank you so much for coming in today and talking about all this.
Thank you so much for having us. I did not say this on air, EJ. We are so lucky to have someone of your depth and brilliance and caliber of journalism here in our city, and you tell some of the most important art stories. And whether it's radio or podcasts or print, we are just so lucky to have you. So thank you for continually supporting us by helping to get our story out there, and all of the other amazing art stories in our community. You're a gem.
What do we call a community builder?
Well, that means a lot. I appreciate it. Thank you.